Hey guys, it's Harry. I've been a game designer and producer for the past 11 years, and we all heard Nintendo's announcement. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is getting a remake for the Nintendo Switch 2. And the first thing that came into my mind was, what was the secret to Ocarina of Time's success? The original game is considered by many to be the best game ever made. So if they are remaking it in 2026, can the remake surpass the original? The short answer is yes, for those who have never played the original game, and hell no for the long-time fans of the series. What does it mean for a game to be considered the best of all time? Naturally, it cannot be that every single person will consider that game the best above all, because that's not realistic. People like different things at different times, and an action-adventure game like Zelda, even though it's an incredibly iconic franchise, it's not gonna appeal to every gamer. Then we have to consider that this title of the best ever is necessarily tied to a specific period in time, a moment when the game caused a huge impact on the players and on the market. That is definitely not something that Ocarina of Time Remake can reproduce, because it's been released in 2026 instead of 1998. And then we need to ask ourselves, why do so many people even today still consider Ocarina to be the best one? The game is simple, yet profound in its story and world. The level of immersion that Ocarina of Time presented to players in the late 90s was something almost unseen before. The charismatic characters and colors won the hearts of gamers all over the world. Let's also not forget that Japanese games in the late 80s and 90s were the most influential of the time. First the NES, then the Super Nintendo, and finally the Nintendo 64 were all revolutionary consoles that people could not stop praising. Nintendo had all the momentum in the world by 1998. And there are some interesting lessons here. The game was developed and published by Nintendo, under the direction of the legendary designer Shigeru Miyamoto, who also created Mario, Star Fox, simply the most iconic person in gaming history. Nintendo had released Super Mario 64 in 1996 for the Nintendo 64 system, a console that established the 3D platformers as we got to know them. Mario was the first of the greats, but then the Zelda games caught up and initiated their journey through the 3D space with Ocarina of Time. While Mario was bringing the simpler and accessible gameplay that is the core of the plumber's adventures, Zelda had a lot more depth to it, and combat, puzzles, character development, and Ocarina of Time brought a lot of innovations. If you played almost any third-person action game on consoles, they will most likely make use of the targeting system, where the camera locks into an enemy so you can strafe around them without losing focus. Your character keeps looking at the enemy, so you don't need to constantly adjust your 3D rotation to face them. That is massive. Ocarina of Time wasn't the first game in history to use that mechanic, but it was definitely the first one to perfect it. And that's the essence of Nintendo. They understand gameplay like no one else. They can simplify complex systems in a way that feels intuitive. You almost don't see it happening. But then you ask yourself, how could you have ever lived without it? Super Mario 64 was pretty much inventing and perfecting 3D platformers. Shigeru Miyamoto-san is famous for spending a huge amount of time in the early developments of Mario 64 perfecting the running and jumping in a 3D environment. He knew that if these core mechanics didn't feel great to play, nothing else would matter. This is a design practice that I take to my heart in my own productions as well. We always have to find the core of the gameplay first, something that the player is going to be doing over and over again. If that doesn't feel great to play and intuitive, nothing else will. If a game is about hacking and slashing, then the hacking and slashing bits need to feel just right, snappy, with the right weight and speed to it. But if a game is an RPG and you're supposed to care about the story, then the writing has to be on point. The secret is to find what exactly the game is about and making it just perfect. And the same thing happened with Link fighting monsters in 3D. Nintendo knew that they needed to enhance the combat system and puzzle solving in a way that felt natural with the new three-dimensional landscape and controllers. For the players, it was a lot to unpack. A previous Zelda game, A Link to the Past, released in 1991 for the Super Nintendo, offered a top-down 2D perspective with simpler combat mechanics, so players coming from that would have a hard time mastering Ocarina of Time had Nintendo not done such an amazing job polishing the new systems. A Link to the Past is among my favorite action-adventure games, but it's undeniable that Ocarina of Time had a huge impact on players because of such well-crafted mechanics. Oh, and if you're wondering why Zelda is an action-adventure game, I have a whole other video talking about all of the different game genres, explaining what defines each type and game examples for each. So if you want to watch that, I'll leave it in the description below. Well, I said that the short answer to if Ocarina of Time Remake can surpass the original is yes and no. Yes to those who have never played the game before, and no to those who are already fans of the series and have played the original. New players haven't felt the impact that the game had at the time, and they will never be able to experience that. It's gone. Either you lived it or you didn't. Either you waited long years for the promise of Hollow Knight's Silk Song to the point that we all thought it was never happening, and then you finally got your hands on it and the gaming world exploded, or you didn't. Future generations might never be able to understand what that hype was all about. Ocarina of Time presented a masterfully crafted open world, huge for the standards of the time, memorable characters that people started to love even more, a breathtaking combat system that was at the same time accessible to most players, but also required a lot of effort to master. All of it while listening to the beautiful scores of Koji Kondo, the composer who created most of the series' soundtracks. It was one of a kind and a singular moment in gaming history. So no, in reality the remake can never bring back all of the context surrounding the original game. That is done, set in the stones of video games history. But the remake can do a lot. It can present the game from an entirely new lens for both longtime fans as well as newcomers. We only saw a little bit of a teaser from Nintendo, but we know that they need to be extremely careful approaching this remake, and it's actually quite bold of them to even touch Ocarina of Time. They need to be very confident that they can do a profound job of capturing the essence of the game while modernizing some parts of it for players who were not even alive in the 90s. That's a big challenge, and I do appreciate Nintendo for caring enough to do that. But you can say, oh, it's just a cash grab, you know, trying to make some easy buck. But I'd argue there's no easy bucks to be made here in any sense of the word. They are messing with one of Nintendo's golden eggs, and any mishaps will be severely punished by the community. There are countless other Zelda games or Nintendo games in general that they could choose to remake for a much safer bet, let's put it like that. All in all, I'm eager to see and play the Ocarina of Time remake. If there's a studio that can do justice to such a beloved franchise, it's Nintendo. But it's not gonna be an easy challenge at all. But what do you think? Are you excited about the remake? What made the original game so incredible for you? Leave in the comments below, I'd love to hear it. That's it guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, leave a like and subscribe, I truly appreciate it. I'm trying to bring some interesting concepts and insights to you guys here, as well as my own game developer experience. And there's a lot more coming, so stay tuned, and I'll catch you guys next time.